What's going on, everyone? So, the Los Angeles Lakers are or have been interested in Andrew Wiggins and kind of been this roller coaster ride so far this offseason of like Lakers are in, now they're out, now they're back in, now they're back out. And so far, all we've heard is that, hey, they're still out on Andrew Wiggins, right? The Miami Heat just want way too much for Andrew Wiggins. I love Andrew Wiggins. I do think there is more argument now than ever to go and trade for Andrew Wiggins because you landed Marcus Smart, right? Where pre-Marcus Smart, ponying up what you needed to for Andrew Wiggins, I think made less sense because it was like Andrew Wiggins by himself doesn't kind of solve everything you need to solve. It makes the Lakers better, but is it enough to make you, title contention better? I don't know. Maybe, possibly, but it's a lot to pony up on a maybe. But landing Marcus Smart, now you're not just getting an Andrew Wiggins. Now you're getting an Andrew Wiggins and then Marcus Smart, who have that you could start and probably should start both of them alongside a Luka, LeBron, and DeAndre Ayton, or at least close with that unit, right? So again, I think that there is a little more justification. Also, in trading for Andrew Wiggins, you'd also free up salary and cap and roster spots, right? So to me, it's like, okay, you're not just trading for Andrew Wiggins, you're trading for Andrew Wiggins and maybe like a DeAnthony Melton and Al Horford, Nikola Vucevic. There was another report. I've talked about him for a while now because like a month ago we heard that they might buy him out soon. New updated report that says, yeah, that's still probably going to be the plan here. So maybe a Nikola Vucevic and a DeAnthony Melton or a Malcolm Brogdon or something like that. Now it's like, now you really have the depth, the versatility, the defense, the shooting, now you're a contending team. So I do think there is more of an argument. I still don't like the overpay. If you could do Gabe Vincent, Dalton Connect, and Rui Hachimura right now, I would do it. And keep your first, I would 10 times over do it. No questions asked, right? But to add that first, it's a little tough. If you had to add the second or like some pick swaps or something like that, then sure, go ahead, do it. But I'd want to preserve that first. However, if the Lakers, right, were to do it, I think it's justified now. And I've always said, I don't mind a team overpaying if it's justified. It makes sense, right? Like the Mark Williams trade. That was an overpay. But it was justified. It made sense. It was like, hey, Lakers might win the championship this year, and who knows what would happen if they would have gotten them, right? And then that obviously fell through. Yes, it was an overpay, but it was justified and was worth overpaying for. Andrew Wiggins, I think, we're at least starting to get to that territory, right? Where I think it's closer now. But we might actually, because again, right now, Lakers are kind of still out on Andrew Wiggins. However, the Lakers could potentially, and I want to be clear, could potentially be back in here within the next month or so. Obviously, there is the potential of just and I said this before, like don't be surprised if by training camp, we start hearing Andrew Wiggins conversations again, because teams usually start lowering the asking price before they get into training camp. But the reason I think that there's a real shot that Andrew Wiggins could be on the market again, particularly for the Lakers, is because Miami could end up landing DeMar DeRozan. So it basically would be this chain reaction, like tipping over a domino. So the Sacramento Kings are working on trying to trade for DeMar DeRozan. Jonathan Kuminga. A lot of names and moving parts. The Sacramento Kings are trying to trade for Jonathan Kuminga via sign and trade with the Golden State Warriors, right? However, if they land a Jonathan Kuminga, unless his contract is like $15 million a year, they're going to end up being over the hard-capped first apron. And on top of that, you have to fill out the rest of your roster because the Sacramento Kings don't want to give up Keon Ellis or Keegan Murray. Right now, they want to trade Devin Carter as well as Dario Saric along, with a protected first and stuff like that in order to land Jonathan Kuminga. The Sacramento Kings brass apparently met with Kuminga and kind of told him, hey, here's the vision, here's what we're thinking, here's where we want you to kind of be. And I guess Jonathan Kuminga is now very open to Sacramento, right? So, first domino would be essentially the Sacramento Kings would sign and trade for a DeMar DeRozan. Now, there are reports out of Sacramento that believe that there is already a handshake deal with DeMar DeRozan about moving him if they land Jonathan Kuminga. Now, it is very possible, and I've talked about this on several occasions, that they end up having to buy out DeMar DeRozan. However, they want to try to trade him first, which is obvious, right? Like, if you can trade and dump him or salary dump him or whatever, then you would do that. Well, one of the teams that was, or not one of the teams, the team, it was the only team that was mentioned, was the Miami Heat for a Terry Rozier and 2 second-round picks. So Terry Rozier and 2 seconds for DeMar DeRozan. So DeMar DeRozan would go to Miami. Terry Rozier would go to the Sacramento Kings, in which they would buy him out, right, and get rid of him instead of buying out DeMar DeRozan. Why would they do that? Because you get 2 seconds, right? So you can either buy DeMar DeRozan out and get nothing, or you can do this deal, buy out, Terry Rozier and get 2 seconds, right? So that's why Sacramento would do that and then be able to clear the cap space in order to bring in Kuminga, and then they would be good. And then Miami would land DeMar DeRozan. Here's the thing. If they land DeMar DeRozan, what are they going to do with Andrew Wiggins? Now, you could argue Andrew Wiggins, better defensively and whatnot, but DeMar DeRozan's probably not going to want to come off the bench. So you're probably going to have to start him, right? So, and you have Bam, you have Khalil Ware, you have, they have several guys already. Like, how are they going to structure their lineup, right? Maybe you start, or what, are you going to do Tyler Hero, DeMar DeRozan, Andrew Wiggins, Bam Adebayo, and Khalil Ware? Right? Like, how are they going to structure their lineup and rotate? Okay, what about Norman Powell, right? I thought the whole point was to bring Norman Powell in so he could be one of the guys, right? So bringing in DeMar DeRozan could open the door again for Andrew Wiggins to now be moved, right? Because they're probably going to look at it as like, hey, let's recoup some of the assets we gave up for DeMar DeRozan. And DeMar DeRozan is making, the money that he's making, right? Like, we still want flexibility, so let's get off Andrew Wiggins. So again, it could be that kind of domino that keeps tipping over. So the first step is the Golden State Warriors trade Kuminga to Sacramento for essentially Devin Carter. Basically, don't include Keegan Murray or Ellis. Probably the easier way to explain it. Because if they include, like, let's say they go, okay, well, fine, we'll give you Keegan Murray, right? Then now they might not have to waive anybody or do anything. They might be able to just stand pat. But DeMar DeRozan supposedly is going to be moved regardless. So it is possible that still ends up happening, right? But essentially, first domino, Golden State trades Sacramento Kuminga. However they get Kuminga, then now they go and they trade DeMar DeRozan to the Miami Heat. And now Miami goes, we need to move off Andrew Wiggins. And now the Lakers come back into play and potentially trade for Andrew Wiggins, which would be fantastic. And I think at that point, I think Miami would probably take, a better package, like a better deal, right? Like, I think that I think they'll try to push at first. Like, hey, no, we still want a first, still want all this. Try to play the hardball game, but I think eventually they're going to cave, particularly come training camp, because it's like, you got to play all these guys, 5 minutes for all these guys. And what, you're going to have Tyler Hero be your point guard? Right? Like, I don't know how well that's going to work. And that's already a question now. So it's like, where are you going to fit all these guys? These guys all are going to want to play. They all play the same position. Like, you're going to have to make a decision. You're going to have to figure something out one way or another. And so trading Andrew Wiggins to the Lakers makes the most sense. Get back a Gabe Vincent who can slot in at the point guard position and actually have a real point guard, right? And you can go something like Gabe Vincent, Tyler Hero, Norman Powell, DeMar DeRozan, and then Bam Adebayo. And then there you go. That could be your starting 5. Or if you want to go, and bring Powell off the bench, you can have DeMar DeRozan at the 3 with, Bam at the 4 and Khalil Ware at the 5. Just because, if you're worried about defensive purposes, whatever. Right? And then now you also have, a Rui Hachimura that you can slot in either spot. You have a Dalton Connect, that it gives you kind of another young prospect that you can kind of grow, build, and develop with the team, right? So now I think it would make more sense. And then Lakers could potentially keep their first in that type of move. So, so depending on where Kuminga goes and how this shapes up, there could be a lot of dominoes, period. Because there's the potential of DeMar just getting bought out. and the Lakers landing him via buyout, right? There's the potential of him getting traded to Miami, and now Miami wants to trade Andrew Wiggins. There's the potential DeMar DeRozan gets traded elsewhere, and if he gets traded elsewhere, then that team might, or Sacramento might end up buying out somebody, or they might now be willing to trade somebody. So there could be this kind of chain reaction that the Lakers could benefit from based on the potential Jonathan Kuminga trade to Sacramento, right? It has to be Sacramento, and it has to be those things. And I know that sounds like a lot of what is, but Sacramento is like front and center to get this done. Right? Kuminga's kind of leaning towards Sacramento. Sacramento wants to get this done and make this happen. If they get Kuminga done, right, they're going to have to get off of some guys. They have to figure something out. So the first step is Jonathan Kuminga. Kuminga happens. If you see Kuminga go to Sacramento, then there is a huge opening for the Lakers now on several different fronts. So keep an eye on Sacramento. But let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. As always, this is a discussion, so I want to hear from you. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. Helps me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.